All right. 6 people. Well, 6, yeah. More than 6.
I'm going to turn my video off, but I'm here.
Dot?
Hello.
Hi. Oh my God.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Great, Johnny.
Okay, good. I was not sure if my phone was working. I'm really good. How have things been?
Good. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Yes.
Did you have a good course at the other provinces as well? Because you went to Calgary, right, after us, or BC?
We went to Vancouver after you guys.
Vancouver, yeah. Yeah, was it good?
It was good. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you for asking.
Yeah, no problem.
You guys were special.
Yeah, of course we are. Goes without saying.
See Lindsay and Matthew together. Oh, you two look so cute. Wearing your earphones. Hello, Katie. Good to see you again.
You too.
Yeah. Hi, Rishi.
Hey, Brian.
Joey, I see you, Joey.
Hello.
Hey. Dylan.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm great. How are you?
Great to see you again. Hey, Trace. Allie. Hello, Allie. Allie,
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It says Mass where you are.
I'm using Mass's iPad.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brendan. Hey, Mass. Massimo, good to see you.
Yeah, you too, man. Yeah, I'm gonna go inside. I'll let her do her thing.
All right, man. Great to see you again.
White?
We're in
Well, she's in
Florida.
fucking Florida. No, it's the sun.
You're in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. See you.
Nice. What takes you down there?
Oh, it's vacation.
Good for you. Good for you. Okay. All right, I acknowledge it. It is exactly 1:30 here in Calgary, 3:30 East Coast time. Welcome. I know other people have come on since I started saying hello to people. Dave, I see you there in Liberty Village. Good to see you, man. All right. Alex, welcome, sir. Bert, good to see you again. All right. Let's see here. Who haven't I said hello to yet? Gary, I see you're here, but I don't see you.
A whole bunch of you guys need to mute. Sue, Joey, Trace.
I am mute.
Okay, John's going to mute everyone except for those of us that are speaking. John's got master control. Hi, Sherry. I see you. Who else is with you there, Sherry?
I have Tori here. She her phone just not picking up the link, so we're gonna share our screen
right.
now.
Great, Tori. Okay, thank you. Welcome. All right, and Nick. Hey, Nick. I didn't say hi to you earlier. Good to see you. All right, is there anyone on the call who I haven't personally waved at? Because I can't.
Bella and Anna just joined.
Say that again, John.
Bella and Anna just joined.
Oh, where's Bella? Bella, where are you? Oh, there you are, Bella. I see you.
I'm right.
Okay, good to see you. And John, who else joined that we didn't acknowledge?
Anna.
Hi.
Where are you, Anna? Wave.
Her video's off right now.
Oh, her video's off. Okay. Hi, Anna.
Hi.
Good to see you. I drove through Winnipeg and I saw the exit sign for Kenniston and I thought of going there or going to the airport. Anyway, I thought of
You
you.
should have came to Keniston.
I know. Next time. Good to
Okay.
hear your voice.
Hi.
All right. And Jake, who was sitting beside you there a moment ago? Jake, who's there with you? Jake?
Hello?
I'll answer for Jake. That's my side here.
I don't think he can hear me. All right, let's see. Okay, is there anyone else we haven't acknowledged that's on the call?
There's one person on the phone that just joined. I'm not sure who it is. Last four digits are 1100.
Can you mute that line, John? It might be some of his videos. We're getting a lot of feedback. Okay, good. You're muted. All right, everyone. Well, it's great to be with you again. Great to be with you. Really great to see your faces. Awesome to be with you. How the call is going to go is we're scheduled. John, how long are we scheduled on the call?
1 hour.
Okay. So I'm going to go through a couple of slides here just to presence the context, set the context. Remember, context is decisive, that four-letter word at the top of those 14 sentences. Who can tell me what that four-letter word was?
Kite.
Kite, exactly, all right? And with that four-letter word, you got the whole meaning of the all 14 sentences. So John's going to share screen in a moment. So if you are not on video, you want to get on video, if you can, so you can see the 3 or 4 slides we're going to reference. If you can't see the video, just pay extra attention. And then we're going to stop the video share, and then we're going to hear from as many of you as possible. That's how the call is going to go. Okay, John?
Okay.
Share screen, please. Thank you. All right.
I'll just get the slideshow started here, and then we're off.
So the context of this, everyone, is bringing the whole course back to work. So this is what we're listening for on this call, is having you operationalize the Mastering Leadership course. And we'll go to the next slide here. So let's just unconceal the whole slide, John. Thank you. So getting the most from, actually, John, will you read this, please?
Yeah, sure. Getting the most from the new model of leadership. The purpose of the new model of leadership is to cause breakthroughs in effective leadership and individual and group performance. On the next several slides, we'll review the new model of leadership, as well as take another look at the key distinctions and conversations we had over each of the 3 days of your course. As we review these slides, we request you authentically listen with an intention to share what you're discovering for yourself by applying this new model of leadership in your life, and or what, if anything, are you struggling with or being challenged with since our time together.
All right, so before we move on to the next slide, what John just read here, to remind you, we introduce you to a new model of leadership. And there are 3 distinct domains to this new model of leadership. We coached you on the 4 foundational factors of leadership: integrity, authenticity. Don't go there yet, John, thank you. Integrity, authenticity, and inside of authenticity, we coached you on authentic listening, being responsible, being accountable, and also being committed to something bigger than oneself. And then we also coached you on the 3 laws of performance. And then we coached you as well inside the new model of leadership is how to take it all back to work. Whether back to work is in in Lansdowne, or back to work as Liberty Village Local, or back to work as Kinnison. We want to hear from you. So we're going to go over, in a few moments, I'm going to go over the 3 days to refresh you on the key distinctions. More importantly, we want to hear, how have you been practicing this? Including, hey, Brian, I haven't been practicing it at all. That's fine too. What are you grappling with? What breakthroughs have you had? What breakdowns have you had? So that's what this call is about. All right, so we'll go to the next slide. Just stop right there, John, before you do day one, okay? Thank you. All right, so there were 3 days, the Mastering Leadership course that we had together, and on day 3, working backwards, each one of the days we gave you a practice from the previous night. We actually asked you to practice it and come back the next morning prepared to share. On day 3, we coached you on upsets and the brain. You may or may not remember we said that upsets are anytime things are not totally flat or complete. So you can be upset even if things are off just by a millimeter. So being upset is not simply meaning you're throwing a glass against a wall, you're yelling. Upset is anytime you're not whole and complete. And we coached you on the final day of how to deal with the inevitable upsets that are about to happen. And we coached you on the brain and neuroscience. And we said that any time that you're upset, you're not being present in the moment. The way your brain is designed, your brain remembers everything that's happened, even if you can't remember it consciously. And when you're upset, what gets kicked in, what gets triggered is some unwitting reminder of the past. Even if the past was 30 seconds ago, or if the past was 3 years ago, when you're upset, you're not present in the moment. So that's one of the key conversations we had on day 3. We also coached you on the last day we were together on the 4th foundational factor of leadership, being committed to something bigger than oneself. We had the 2 circles. We had the world of me. The world of me is about designed to have your identity survive, what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, that already always listening world, me. Or are you going to be concerned with the world of we? The world of we is about what's possible. The world of we includes conversations for what's working or what's not working. The world of we is about standing for something. I say this shift is going to go this way and it goes that way because I said so. Or I say that our store is going to be the best in the whole company and it's going to go that way because I say so. And then also on day 3 on the bottom left, you see, we coached you on and we gave you time to organize yourselves into groups. And we gave you time to say, how are you going to take this back to work? Okay, refreshing you on day 2. We coached you on the 4 foundational factors of leadership, and we coached you on integrity. And we introduced you to the bicycle wheel. And we said, we used the metaphor that like a bicycle wheel, having all of its spokes, if even one spoke is loose or broken, the integrity of the wheel is not whole and complete. It's not bad, it's not wrong. When integrity is lacking, when the state of being whole and complete is lacking, then it impacts workability. And we referenced the Michael Jensen interview article that we asked you to read. And we used the example about when a car is out of integrity and you allow the car to be out of integrity and then you're late for work and you cause a traffic jam, your out of integrity impacts so many other people. And we coached you, gave you those worksheets. We had to identify areas of your life where you have an unworkability item. And then we asked you to bring committed speaking to it. What are you going to do and what by when? And then we had many amazing things happen when we were together for those 3 days. One of the things I recall is Trace getting up, and restoring integrity with Dylan, like in real time about the schedule. And that was an on the court example of how we're coaching you to be tending to be on the lookout, to have integrity, have the bicycle spokes always reconnected, if you will. We coached you on responsibility. You may or may not remember that we said we coached you on responsibility begins with a willingness to be cause in the matter. Most people go through life, I couldn't get it done because of something else. And we coached you on where you stand as your cause in the matter of all of life. and we gave you the ladder of self-responsibility and accountability. And we had you work with a partner and look to see where you're at the bottom rungs of the ladder, where you're making excuses or blaming others or saying, I'm waiting and hoping, and get yourself at least up to that middle rung of acknowledged reality, then get yourself up to own it, find solutions, and then ultimately make it happen. We also coached you on Merlin. Merlin is when we had you go back and look at how did you get to where you are today? Where were you 5 years ago? And then we had you look out with Merlin, step out in the future. Where are you going to be 5 years out? And then how are you going to get there? Okay. And then now we'll go to day one, John. You can show all of day one, please. 12 of them. Thank you. All right. And on day one, we started off with discovery learning. We had you look around that room. We had you discover something. And then we had you, we said that our work is about having you discover things, distinct from having you understand things. Nothing wrong with understanding something. Understanding is informational learning. We said that the work that John and I are doing with you is in the domain of discovery learning, in the domain of transformational learning, when you have that aha moment, when you have a breakthrough. When you discover something as your own, it's yours forever. And we gave you an opportunity to pair up with a partner. And then the two of you came to the front of the room and you introduced them with an intention to discover something new about them that you hadn't realized before. And you got to confront part of that exercise, and throughout the 3 days, you got to confront for yourself what stops you from fully participating in life. Yeah, for example, Lindsay, we couldn't shut Lindsay up by the end of the 3 days, right? She kept wanting to get up in front and share and share and share. Okay. Then we gave you the design and the overview of the entire Mastering Leadership course. We coached you on what it is to be present, which is number 4 under day one. We said for the most part, we're not present. We have a little voice in our head. That little voice is going on all the time, telling us what's possible, what's not possible. And we said that there's a pervasive nature to that little voice. It's called you're already always listening for what's right or what's wrong or what's good or what's bad, what's true, what's false, what's the problem, what's the solution, what's in it for him, what's in it for her. We coached you on context is decisive. I had that conversation with you a few moments ago about kite. And as a leader, you always want to set what the context is so people know how to listen and how to participate. We had you get into work groups and inquire into leadership. How is leadership distinct from management? How do we create leaders? What does leadership make possible? And what we offered you is leadership as a place to stand. Leadership as a place to stand is fulfilling a future that wasn't going to happen anyway, and it fulfills on the concerns of all the relevant parties. And we coached you in the 3 laws of performance about the tennis ball. You throw it across the room, and how people perform correlates or is in a dance with how a situation occurs to them. And the second law is how a situation occurs arises in language. So as a leader, you're always listening for the words that come out of someone's mouth. That gives you a sense of how a situation occurs to them. And then the third law is future-based language that transforms how situations occur. That's the Joey vision statement. That's your charter to be the #1 premium casual dining restaurant choice in North America through delivering irresistible experiences. And then we coached you, are you on the court or are you in the stands? And we said nothing happens when you're in the stands. When you're in the stands, you're an observer. And we coached you as well that anytime you're stopped because of something going on with you internally, a thought or a mood or body sensations, that's an in the stands conversation. That's an in the stands phenomenon. Where life happens, where results happen, is on the court. And we gave you access to committed speaking versus descriptive speaking. We didn't address number 9 there, mastering conversational domains, but we talked a bit about that you're inside of, you use specialized terms in the work you're in. I'm in the weeds, or something's 86, or a GER, get it right the first time. Those are specialized terms. And the point we're making here is we're introducing you to a conversational domain on leadership, what it is to be a leader. And we're using specialized terms. So there's a difference between saying, authentic listening and listening. And we're being rigorous with our language, that on the court versus in the stands is a specialized term inside of what it is to master leadership as we've distinguished it inside this course. Number 10 under day one is the foundational factor of leadership on authenticity. And authenticity is being true to who you hold yourself out to be for yourself and who you hold yourself out to be for others. And we coached you on stingy listening versus authentic listening. We gave you 30 seconds on the stingy listening. You didn't want any more time. And with the authentic listening, you could have used more time. We gave you 2.5 minutes. And we said what it takes to be a leader, the being of a leader, is you're authentically listening. You're listening to discover something new. You can focus your listening just like you can focus your eyesight. And then we gave you the practices. All right. So then the next slide, and then we're going to hear from you. And we want to hear from you. What are you discovering for yourself by applying this new model of leadership in your life or at work? And include in your sharing, what, if anything, are you struggling with? Or what, if anything, have you been challenged by since our time together? So we're going to stop sharing the screen and just wave at us or come off mute. And we want to hear from as many of you as possible when you're ready to share. So who will go first?
I'll go first. I think leaving the course, I was the most skeptical about whether or not I was going to be able to apply it. And I thought there's a lot of gold in it all. One of the biggest pieces for me was just the context piece. I think that's what landed with me the most. And that's something that I was actually surprised with how much in conversations I applied and still continue to apply. The struggles, I think, for me were actually being able to take all the information and apply all the information throughout my day at work. But I think, yeah, the context piece is what I've really been going after, ensuring people understand exactly what I'm talking about before I go into a conversation. And then a big piece for me was also just listening, but not so much, I mean, it was focused on actually listening, but also going in and having people understand that I'm listening. And I think that exercise around having people listen or try to not listen to you while you're talking and how that feels. So it's just an effort to make sure that people are clear that when they're speaking and that, you know, it is being heard, which for me, I've been more effective on coaching people in that sense because I find them more open when I need to coach.
Great, Nick. Now, Nick, I'm going to say a few things. First, thank you, and I acknowledge you for going first, okay? It's great that you jump right in. And everyone else as you share, because not everybody is on video. Now, I could see Nick, but do say your name so that anyone that's not on video knows who's sharing, okay? Please. And then, Nick, a couple things I heard you share. I'm going to say them, and then in a moment, I'm going to ask you to share us an on-the-court example. But before you do that, one of the things I heard you say was, although you've been applying it, and I'm clear you have been, I did hear you say, how do I apply the information? And you've been at work at having people understand that you're authentically listening. Did you hear yourself say those two things, Nick, or not?
I did.
Okay, so as a reminder, it's not about taking information and applying it. That would be inside of understanding. And we're committed that you discover it. So we're listening for you being a leader, not necessarily having to remember the slides or remember notes. So I'm clear that you got something for yourself. You jump right up front and you're sharing. What'll make a difference is if you can get us on the court. Hey, Brian and everyone, last week I had a conversation with this person. They said this, they said this. I noticed now that I was authentic. You know, can you get us something that's specific, Nick?
Yeah, I think in the course, I don't know if anyone else experienced this, but I had a couple people in my head the whole time thinking about how, yeah, I experienced this roadblock with this person. So a big, you know, someone I really want to invest in and have them succeed and sometimes struggle in conversation is my day sous. And oftentimes, we're actually really good friends outside of work, and oftentimes when I'm giving feedback, it's telling them what to do to be successful, and then that's met with resistance because it's, It's me telling them, and essentially what they're hearing that they're wrong, everything they're doing is wrong, just do it this way, whatever it may be. So I went into conversations that I've had multiple around different areas of business, and in those conversations, or in one conversation specifically, I don't remember the details, and I don't know if I can describe them all, but it was having him really understand that I know where he's coming from, I know where he's frustrated, and that I'm not there to frustrate him, and I'm simply trying to have him see another way of being, so that way he can succeed and be more successful at his job and get promoted. And instead of diving into the small details of the conversation, that's what normally happens. And to give you an example, it'd be making it up a little bit, but doing a quality check and how you can do a quality check better. And then it would turn into an argument around, well, yeah, you're doing one, but you're not doing it right. And it just wasn't about that. It was about what the intention was of the conversation and where I'd like them to understand I'm coming from. And I think we've seen that individual excel and move forward and just have a really great couple of weeks.
Awesome, Nick.
Yeah.
That's great. Awesome. Great work. Thank you. Who will go next?
Hi, it's Anna.
Hi, Anna.
Okay, so for me, I found that in the course, I didn't really realize how inauthentic I was actually being at work. And I was struggling with having a certain conversation an authentic conversation that I knew that I needed to have with my GM. So when I came back to work, it's actually one of the first conversations that I had. And it was just about, there a lot of things that were going on at our store that I just refrained from. She knew what they were, but we refrained from kind of talking about it together and talking about how I was feeling during that time. And even though we were able to execute things properly, it still gave me a lot of anxiety, and I felt like it took away from my performance. So I was able to tell her how I was feeling, and it actually turned into her being super authentic and actually telling me that she felt a lot of the same things, and it just brought a new perspective into our relationship at work, like our working relationship as a team, and has just made me feel like better all around. And I was able to actually, after that, start having more authentic conversations with like my partners. And I just found that my conversations were so much more impactful when I can actually tell them where I was struggling as well. And yeah.
Wow. Anna, that is great.
Yeah.
Really, really awesome. Acknowledge you for continuing to step up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't think to ask Nick, but I'm going to ask you, Anna. Can you remind us, and it may not be verbatim, but what did you say you were out to accomplish in the course? What did you write on your tent card?
I wanted to accomplish being more comfortable with public speaking and being more vulnerable and not being so afraid of failure and rejection. Brilliant.
Yeah, and now I can hear where it really matters is not in the 3 days. I can hear that it's on the court in your life since the course. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Who will go next?
Hey.
Hi guys. Oh, you go first.
Okay. This is Brendan from Eaton Center over here.
Oh, hey, Brendan.
Yeah, what I really kind of like, this is, I guess, what I took away with and what I've been struggling with over the last couple of weeks, and that the story that stuck with me is which wolf are you going to feed?
Yeah.
And I think I found it easier in a 3-day course where, like, I felt like you always had to be on the court to make sure that I was trying to feed the right wolf. Where since I've gotten back, it's gone a little bit back and forth sometimes. I had a conversation with my GM about a conversation that I wouldn't have beforehand. were just I was worrying too much about coming across as not knowing that I was doing how to do my job, or coming across as annoying, instead of just being open and talking to her. So that was like, I tried to feed the wolf that way, the right wolf that way, that day. And then, but there are other times where I've kind of let excuses get in the way, or kind of just been like, oh, I'm not going to have this conversation because of this X excuse or Y excuse. And I found it hard the last couple of weeks to make sure that I'm always being the leader that I want to be. So I think it's going to continue to be a process, but when you're asking what we're struggling with, like, I've been struggling with living into leadership every day.
Got it, Brendan. And I hear you. And Brendan, you, and I'm saying this to you, and I can say it to everybody. I'm saying it specifically to Brendan because I'm speaking to you now. I'm looking down here because you're down here on my screen. Like the Brady Bunch. And if you don't know what the Brady Bunch is, Google it, guys. But Brendan, you really got on the court in the 3 days. And that process was designed so you had the as lived experience. So we already know that you have everything you need. I mean, you had that breakthrough with your father, you got that several times, you spoke during the course. I mean, it's huge. You know what I'm speaking of, Brendan? Yeah. So you already know how to do it. And I love that what resonated for you is about which wolf you're going to feed. Now that you have discovered something you didn't know, do you remember that distinction from the course, Brendan?
Yep. And
now unknow it. So good news, bad news. It will be, instead of, I invite you, if it gives you power, because you get to create the context that's going to give you power. If it gives you power to say, I'm struggling with it, keep saying that. If it gives you power to say it's a process, keep saying it. For myself, what gives me power is I create the context. I'm inside of a journey. And the rest of my life, because I chose this, the rest of my life, I'm on a journey to master leadership. And there are going to be moments when I'm feeding that wolf, that takes away from my power. And as soon as I see that, then I can stop that and I can feed that wolf. That gives me power. Is that useful, Brendan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in the moment it's sometimes hard to identify, like, I don't always remember it in the moment, right? And that makes it challenging. And after the fact, it's very easy, like, shit, I should have done this differently. But I'm not living into it. I'm just looking at it in hindsight.
Yeah, great. Now here's the good news. John and I don't wake up every morning powerful, and John and I talk at least 5 days a week, and we clear each other. Or if I'm on it, if I'm stuck, he can hear it and he's got permission to call me on it, and then I can get off it, and then I get powered. We're kind of like guys on teeter-totters, doing it back and forth. Now, the good news, teeter-totters, again, Google it if you don't know what a teeter-totter is. The good news is you're inside of an environment. Your entire company is taking on this new model. So if you haven't done it already, you can have buddies and sit down with your buddy a couple of times a week. Or you can bring it into your pre-shifts or bring it into your other meetings. All of that to say, it's great what you're grappling with. Have some compassion for yourself and keep practicing. Anything else, Brendan?
Pardon me, I didn't catch the
Anything else? Anything else for you?
No, that's it.
All right, great. Thanks. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
What else? Who else? What else?
Hi guys, it's Allie. When I came back from the leadership course, I had a bunch of, I was just feeling a little bit overwhelmed with everything that we learned. And I was kind of just feeling anxious about, am I going to forget it? Am I going to be able to bring it back to work? How am I going to practice it without being surrounded by all these people? And the first step that I took in practicing with what we learned was the already always listening conversations.
Yeah.
So I had 3 conversations, which I committed to, I think I committed to Suhani and Nick, that I would have when I got back with a couple people that I had preconceived notions about in my head. And I shared what I was feeling about them and just about work and things like that with them. And they actually opened up about some things that they were a little bit frustrated with me about as well. And now those relationships, which going into the course were not very strong relationships, are a lot stronger than they were before going into the course.
Wow, Allie. Isn't that great? That's awesome. That's
Thank
awesome. Thank you. So, honey?
Okay, for me, I think my biggest takeaway from the course really was, and I said this is, creating a whole new world of possibility. And it's like I created this world for myself, and what could this new world be? Because I had an experience which I never thought I could experience, and I did, and I think that just opened up my eyes. But it was almost like it took me a few days. I'm like, okay, well, how do I create this, and how do I find this, or how do I discover this? And then I had a really good chat with my bosses, and it was cool, both my regionals. And actually what I discovered was a lot, and we've said this, a lot of who we are today is because of something in the past. And I think I said it multiple times, even during the course, that, I'm OCD and I'm very on point. And so what I discovered was that actually has come, this trait has come from my dance. When I was younger, I always wanted to be perfect, and I always wanted to get it right, and I always wanted to look good when you're on stage, and you always want to get it all right and to the T. And so it was cool because I was just talking out loud, and I was like, that makes sense. And as a result of which, because now I'm able to relate it back to why I say I am the way I am, and what actually caused me to become that way. I have literally, since that day that I had the discovery, I have stopped saying that I am that person that I thought I was. I stopped saying anything that I say that I am. I'm just like, cool. Or, I don't even say it. I'm just sort of, I've stopped restricting myself with whatever I think I might be, or what right is, or what anything is. I'm just sort of taking everything on as and when it comes to me, and learn from it. So that's been really cool. Just really understanding the why I sort of became a certain way, and discovering it was huge for me, because I never thought of it like that. But when I did, a light bulb went off, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly why I'm like that. But yeah.
That warms my heart hearing that. That is awesome. Way to go. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hello, who's that?
It's Matt from Lansdowne.
Hey, Matthew.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you.
So there's 2 major things that I took away that I discovered during the course. First and foremost, the biggest one was something that I even put into my quarterly planner, was to stop reporting, to live my life in a way that I'm always on the court, as opposed to constantly reporting what's going on. That's changed majorly for me. I always take things on. I don't just say what's going on. I don't just report the issues. I find the issues and I fix the issues. My second major discovery was similar to Ali. It was the already always listening. So I've had 2 very difficult conversations over the last few weeks with people who I had a lot of history with, and people who I worked very closely with. And I had some major already always listenings, every single conversation, every single interactions with them. And I acknowledged to them what it is, and that I wanted to let it go, and that I will let it go, and that moving forward, that I would go into every conversations fresh and in the moment, as opposed to just living in the past.
Awesome, Matthew. That's huge. That's great.
Lindsay would love to go next.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for volunteering me as tribute. I mean, I took a ton from the course. I think the two biggest things that I took were the authentically listening and my issue with always having that always thinking in my head, whether it be if they're wrong or right, or how I'm going to feel about having to talk to this person about whatever conversation it might be. And then also the integrity part, I took a lot from that because I've always considered myself to be a person of integrity. And in doing that exercise, I found that I was a little bit out of integrity with every aspect of my life, which kind of hit home for me. The day after we had, or the day after when we returned from the learning circle, we had a quarterly planner. And I kind of had it all set out in my head on what my personal goals were and what my business goals were. And after doing the course, my mind was all over the place. It's like, these are not my goals at all. Like, these are the things I should be focusing on. And I honestly probably spent like 9 hours looking at it. Allie and Katie can contest to that. During the meeting, I kind of just wrote them because I had to write them. And during the meeting, I had to stop myself because everything I was saying was, forced. And it didn't resonate at that point about what I truly was working on. So took the next day off and kind of just realized that all the tools that you guys gave us weren't new goals to work on, but I felt like they were more like tools, not new goals. So yeah, it's good. I think in the execution of my day-to-day work, the biggest thing that I'm seeing myself do is taking on a more fearless leadership role rather than sugarcoating and worrying about what people are going to think or if I'm going to hurt their feelings. So I think that's probably the best for me.
Wow. That meant great. Okay, we're going to have to do this every 2 weeks. Forever. That's great. Thanks, Lindsay. Who else? What else?
Hey, Bella here.
Okay, so Bella, and then Katie, and then Trace. I saw your hands go up. So Bella, go ahead.
You get us right on the court right away. The first Thursday we got back, we had one of those hold-on shifts. It was a 12-hour day, just terrible GERS. When you're just getting slammed, one of those hold-on. In the end, it turned out the bartender had never been trained to close. So I was there from 4 in the afternoon till 4 in the morning, just getting absolutely slammed. And the next morning I wake up and I get an email. It's from my office manager and just like, the office has left a mess, completely unacceptable. How dare you leave it like this? This is the standard. And just like, I wrote the first email about 10 times, like, you have no idea what I went through yesterday and and then finally I just wrote back professionally, like, hear a lot of passion there. I'll be in today. Let's have a conversation. And then, when I spoke to her, I didn't even bring up, sorry about that. We didn't even bring up what went on yesterday. I just said, like, listen, I hear that I really set your day back. And as soon as I started just empathizing with her, it all turned around, and she actually felt quite foolish for being so hostile about it and really turned it around. So, but we talked about it's really hard to live that leadership in those hard moments. And that was a time that I really had to bite my tongue, but afterwards I just felt like renewed, like I didn't hold on to that incident or anything, and it was just like washed away. So it was a moment I really got to exercise what we learned there.
Wow, Bella. That is huge. That is so great.
Because I had words for her, trust me, but I didn't say them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's although you didn't say it, I'm present to that's somebody moving outside of the me world. You're right, she's wrong, justifying, and you standing for what's possible. You standing for the we world. That's brilliant. Thank you, Bella.
Cheers.
Cheers. Katie?
Hello, everybody. One thing that I really got out of the course that I felt that I could think of exact examples of moments that I hadn't been on the court at present was the authentic listening. And when we were talking about it in the course, I could think back to 2 conversations that I had actually had in the week before the course where someone had asked to sit down with me or give me feedback or get feedback from me. And I knew that the quality of feedback that I had given them and how present I had been in the conversation was way below what they deserved from me, but also just like what I was capable of doing. So I had follow-up conversations with both of those partners in the last couple weeks, and I found that just by focusing on them, I was so much less worried about what I was saying and actually just responding to exactly what they were saying instead of thinking about what I should say to them or what I need to go into the conversation with. So I was able to give answers to their questions that were actually directly related to the questions that they were asking, instead of trying to formulate the information that I had gone into the conversation with into a way that sounded like an answer to their questions. So I got a lot out of those conversations, and I felt that they did too, and I felt that my relationships with those 2 partners has really been stronger. But one thing that I've definitely found with that is also that the authentic listening is something that, like, just by thinking of authentically listening in conversations, I've realized how much more I wasn't authentically listening, because it actually takes way more effort than I thought it would. And you know, we can use the excuse of, like, if we're having a conversation on the floor at a table and there's things going on, like, oh, there's so many distractions. But there's been a couple conversations where I know that I was super engaged with the person the entire conversation, and just being able to see that it's possible to do that has really challenged me to make sure that if I'm going into a conversation, I'm not letting anything distract me. I don't have my phone on the table. I don't have other people coming up to me. I'm picking a table where, instead of it being like a, oh, let's sit here so I can see what's going on table, it's, you know, we're tucked away in the back corner. And I found it's just really helped me have more genuine connections with the people that I'm talking to.
It's very evident in who you're being. Everything you just said. We got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Trace.
Hello, everyone. Trace here. One of the biggest things I took away from the course is the fact that where practice is concerned, you have to be in integrity with that on a day-to-day basis. But I know it showed up for me while I was a lot out of integrity where practicing is concerned. A situation came up with the scheduling between Dylan and I, and where feedback versus output was like not aligned. And rather than me just remove the preconceived notion, like I reacted in myself. That's a moment where I was in the stand, like creating all these rockets, be like, then why the hell this and that and that. And an hour and a half drive home, like it took a toll on me. And long story short, I didn't sleep that night. On the following morning, which was Monday morning, Dylan actually grabbed me and like literally 5 minutes conversation, create more light on the situation, that 2 of us owned it, create a plan, move forward, and not just with Dylan, but I try to put that scenario with every other conversation I have. One, if I'm not practicing my integrity aspect of it, or what I really want to achieve out of it, am I really going to be in integrity with it? And similar to what Katie said, even in conversation, remove all the distraction. If you're not present in the moment, then one, you're out of integrity with yourself, and you're not committed to the other person on the opposite side, that you're hearing what they're saying, and give the feedback or the coaching the way it should go. So that's a big takeaway for myself.
Oh man, that's awesome, Trace. Really great. And Trace, I can hear myself in what you were saying too. You made it very vivid. When you're out of integrity, even on your hour and a half drive home, you're talking to yourself about it, yes?
Yes.
Still beating yourself up. Yeah, and I acknowledge you for getting it complete. Dylan came to you, and you guys got it complete the next morning. And it takes a big person, really takes a big person as you are. Continue to practice that, and thank you for being authentic and vulnerable and sharing that with all of us.
Thank you.
Yes. Dylan, how about you go next?
Yeah, please. I was itching there. It's funny that Chase kind of brought that up because that was a story I kind of wanted to touch on as well. But there were some big things for me that I took away, where it was the idea of like actually being present and authentically listening and listening with intention. I've always kind of known and acknowledged that listening has been something that, and just being present in general has been something that I've struggled with. I've acknowledged that for a while, and I guess, you know, the takeaway from the course was really how bad at it I was, and I mean, still am in a lot of ways, but that's been the biggest thing that I've really put into practice, is how I choose to show up differently in conversations with people and removing distractions. And I've actually had a couple of different conversations. It's kind of cool to actually have somebody notice it. Even, you know, we have a profit call every couple of weeks, and I'm a big like fidgeter. I've always found like I've got to have something in my hands, or I'm flicking my pen, or like, you know, tapping my fingers and that kind of thing. And I have my GM Kira just kind of acknowledge the fact that and she didn't really, not knowing that it actually meant something to me, it was like, hey, like I noticed you stopped fidgeting. You know, that was really cool kind of thing. And that was big for me to have someone notice that I was really putting effort into this idea of actually trying to listen and be present to what's going on. And so that was cool. But to get back to, I guess, that specific thing with Trace was like this idea of creating context and being authentic in that way. That specific incident, it started over feedback that I was giving to him on the schedule. And you mentioned something earlier that I'll give a shout out to Trace for. He committed to having schedule notes to me by Fridays, and he hasn't missed a Friday yet. So I'll acknowledge him for that. But with that specific incident, I had given him some feedback, and in not creating the right context, it was very easy for me to understand why he took it the way that he did. It was me providing him feedback from a place of education, but in not setting that context and actually, you know, having this correspondence through email versus it being in person and being present. Essentially, it came across as me just, you know, shitting all over him for all these things that I picked up in schedule and trying to just give him feedback. And it was very, you know, I worked in that conversation to reset and create that context, which really, I think, helped diffuse the situation for both of us. And just kind of move forward, I thought was really cool. So it's funny, Trace, I thought about that same conversation when thinking about what I wanted to share in terms of context coming out of that course. So it's pretty cool.
Wow, that's so great. Thanks, Dylan. Well done. Sherry? Tori? Yeah. If you're speaking, I don't hear you. Don't hear you, Tori. I see your lips moving, but I don't hear you. One moment, okay. No, I don't hear you. Say something now. Is it only me, John?
Yeah, they're off mute, but there's something not connected because we're not hearing them.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, Tori.
Oh, sweet. Hi, how's it going?
Good.
One thing I really went into the course to get would be the authentic listening. And just through the course, realizing how terrified I am to say the wrong thing or, you know, essentially to fail. And it actually came up right now, just getting really nervous to even share with you guys because I don't want to say the wrong thing. And that traumatizing experience that happened to me at the course, I didn't want that to happen again. But what I think, being on the court while back at work, it's been really great with my shift managers. It's actually been really easy to be present and really easy to not be scared what to say and just be, you know, hear them and listen and share when I can, and sometimes not share and be okay with that silence. where I find I struggle with it almost every single day still. And I relate to Trace when he says he beats himself up about it kind of afterwards, is just with my mentors, and just like right now being a little bit afraid to say the wrong thing and almost not even really being able to hear what they're asking me because I'm so worried about exactly how to word the question I think is about to be said, is something that's coming up for me. So, you know, the next day, or if I'm good at it, sometimes 10 minutes in, I try to redirect the conversation and just be honest, like, sorry, I didn't actually hear what you said and I'd like to start over. Or the next day, just sending a text being like, hey, can we have a follow-up for next week, because I'm really incomplete with how I showed up there, and it's not perfect yet, but it's getting there. And I think a big win from it is outside of work with, you know, my parents especially, and my boyfriend at home, just how being present feels a lot different, when I really honestly thought I was present with them before, but it's a completely different game now, a completely different world that I'm living in now. And it's just it's good. And I hope to soon get there with my mentors too. But to be honest, it's something I'm still pretty struggling I'm struggling with still.
Tori, that is so excellent. You know, consider it's no accident. It took you a few moments for you to have us hear you. And it would have been very understandable and justified for you to do this and move on to somebody else, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you stayed in it. You worked it out. You worked it out with Brendan, you know, to make sure you got heard. So that is a real time example, in addition to everything you said, and everything you said is brilliant. That's a real time example, Tori, and everyone, of you not staying in the stands, not listening to that little voice. Oh my gosh, I've ruined it already. What do I say? And you got out here on the court and you made sure we heard you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. And
Thank
everything else you shared. And I'm thrilled for your relationship with your boyfriend and with your parents. I'm sure it's showing up for you as a night manager. I'm sure it's showing up with mentors and everything else. Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry'd like to go.
Okay.
We're passing around the Eaton Center via Brendan's headphones. Yeah, so it's Sherry talking now. It's been really exciting to take back everything that I've kind of been working on since the course, and for me, it's been a lot around self-integrity, and I know I kind of talked about it and had it on my card during it, and for me, it's been difficult to have integrity 100% of the time now that I'm so aware of it. And the biggest thing that I've taken away was the discussion around integrity it's different from morality. And just because you're out of integrity with certain things doesn't mean that you're a bad person, but the weight around your word and how even putting it out there to people you're coaching, or, you know, in my personal life, when I am out of integrity, just having weight around my word to actually own it and bring it up. And that's something that I'm still not 100% at doing all the time, but I've been really practicing that muscle more, and I'm finding it easier to come forward when those moments do happen. The authentically listening thing, I know everyone's kind of talked about that, but it's been huge for me too. Just especially once we're back in the restaurant, there's a million things happening and someone's coming up to me asking me for quick advice on something, and I'll have to catch myself and say, no, actually, can you say that again? I wasn't really listening there. So that's been really awesome too. And then I think Suhani talked about it, but the other thing that's come up for me a lot of the time has been remembering when I'm angry at something that it's actually a trigger, or, you know, a chemical experience in my brain from something that's happened in the past, and how can I remove myself from that anger and actually read the situation and react not from emotion with that.
Awesome, Sherry. That is so great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, everyone, we've got less than 5 minutes. So who else? What else? I have time for one, maybe two people. Jake, how about you?
Yeah, first of all, I got made fun of for the last month about my answer about why the Leafs are the best hockey team. Got made fun of every single day, but it's okay. One thing that came up a lot for me is just, authentic listening. I thought I was a good listener. It wasn't really on my radar when I went to this course, and it's something that I catch myself working on every time I had a conversation with someone, and it's really kind of opened my eyes as to what type of result I get out of the conversation. That's one main thing that really stood out a lot while I was trying to put everything into practice a little bit. But what I kind of realized is that, like if we're talking about integrity, authenticity, being responsible, committed to something bigger, and I felt like it's something that we all kind of had, or at least for myself had, but like it wasn't about learning a new thing. It's just how to elevate this and how to kind of put it into perspective where you can actually use this to the highest level. So that was kind of interesting for me. The spokes was something that was very interesting because one of my main things was, how can I try and use this outside of, not just at work, but at my personal life. And it's really changed my kind of not just perspective at work, but my whole perspective on everything I do outside of work. And it's actually helped me be more at ease and have more energy and just kind of trying to balance all the spokes out, although it's not perfect, but trying to, and it's done wonders for me and how I've shown up. And like, obviously for the last month, I've probably got the most done out of the last probably 10 years of my life. Probably got the most done since the last month. And yeah.
That's great, Jake. That really is great. And you do have one of the best hockey teams in the NHL. So.
I still get made fun of, but it's okay.
Yeah. All right, Jake. Okay, well, everyone, we're going to wrap the call up. And as I said at the top of the call, I know we didn't hear from everybody, Alec and Joey, and there's some others, Rishi. Whether you spoke on this call or not, know that we know you guys are taking this into your lives. And know that we know, John and I know you touched us, and we know who you are. And we thank you again for the privilege and the honor that it was to spend 3 days. It seems like a lifetime, though, doesn't it, that we spent together? And anything you need, we're here. We don't have anything scheduled again to be with you in this calendar year. And it is our intent that we are with you sometime around the Joey or local campus down the road. So thank you for making yourselves available for this call. And now go out and be masterful leaders in all of life. Thanks, guys. See ya. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Done and done.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
No, just fucking sign.
You don't want to leave, Lindsay.
Stay with us.
All the best. Able to manage the participants there, John, and the recording?